All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to talk about Errol Spence, Shawn Porter, and Yordenis Ugas, and prediction that Shawn Porter has for the fight between Ugas and Spence. Let's do that in this video. Right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Before I get into the subject matter of the video, please make sure before you leave the video, hopefully you will listen to the video all the way to the end so you can get my opinion of what I think about what fighters are saying at the end of the video. But before you leave the video, please make sure you hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, and make sure you hit that bell icon so you can get the notifications for when we drop videos, which we do on a daily basis. But let's get into it. Shawn Porter on the Porter podcast. Shawn Porter on the Porter podcast. That's a tongue twister. Not a bad one though. Said, gave his opinion on the Errol Spence Jr. versus Yordenis Ugas fight, which should be taking place in the first quarter of 2022. It actually seems, man, really like we should be getting some pretty decent fights in the first quarter of the year. Keith Thurman is going to be fighting, has his card. Errol Spence Jr. should be having his card. Gary Russell Jr., I do believe, is having his card. So lot of activity on the PBC side. The ESPN or the Top Rank hasn't let theirs out as much, but looks like we're going to get a good first 3 months of the year. And one of the biggest ones is going to obviously be a 3-belt unification between Errol Spence Jr. and Yordenis Ugas. Now, there are a lot of people out there, honestly, probably not that many people, just loud people. Sorry, man, I got to do a little bit of clowning in this video because people keep talking bad about this fight between Errol Spence Jr. and Yordenis Ugas, but it's my belief that it's just really a lot of guys that talk bad about everything that the PBC does, and they're using Terrence Crawford as an excuse and a reason to do that, because you're getting a 3-belt unification fight, which puts you 1 fight away from undisputed. So anybody that is being reasonable and not being incredibly biased about what fights are taking place should not have a problem with the fight, because it literally is 1 fight away from undisputed. But a lot of people are actually treating this like the fight's not worth anything, and I don't get it, because they act like, number one, the same people will act like Errol Spence Jr. is so broken up from his car accident and his eye is torn retina that that he's just, he's a complete bum. But for some reason, this guy who they're treating like is a complete bum is just cherry picking a world champion. I don't get it. If you're dang near a complete bum who's had, all his car accidents and all of that, and you're running from people, how in the world are you going to be somebody that is good enough to just walk through Yordenis Ugas, so good to the point that the fight is not worth happening? I don't understand it, other than to say it's just literally the same type of people that will complain about anything that the PBC does. But Shawn Porter, who is not one of those people, gave his thoughts on the fight and said, look, man, I really do believe, he said, I believe that Errol Spence Jr. should beat Yordenis Ugas, but I would not be surprised if Yordenis Ugas won the fight. And the reason why he said that was, he said, first, you don't know what Errol Spence you're going to get. Now, I don't understand. I can understand that from a certain standpoint. After the car, when it was the car accident, he was fresh off the car accident, but he had that car accident, and then he beat Danny Garcia, and he beat Danny Garcia going away. It wasn't like he had a competitive fight with Danny Garcia. It wasn't like Danny Garcia really caused him very many problems at all. He beat a top-level welterweight, off of that accident. And Errol Spence Jr., by his own admission, said he felt like he was only about 60% when he fought Danny Garcia. Now, the reason he could beat Danny Garcia is because he's a very, very good boxer, right? He's not just somebody that comes forward and will brawl with you and, and all that. He's also somebody that can fight on the back foot, make sure that you don't hit him. Very, very good fighter, man. And he showed it in the Danny Garcia. He showed it in the Danny Garcia fight. This particular injury with the retina, I don't know how that is going to affect his ability to fight, unless it affects his ability to see. Right now, it may be a situation where he is more easily re-injured, but if he gets re-injured, that injury is probably not going to affect him in that fight. It may affect him after the fight, require him to get surgery, and may limit him or whatever. But I don't see how that would necessarily limit him in that fight. But Shawn Porter said, we just don't know what type of Errol Spence Jr. we're going to get in that. And Yordenis Ugas is a very, very good fighter. And in Yordenis Ugas, and this is where I think Yordenis Ugas is dangerous, more dangerous than he used to be, is that now he's got a taste of winning big fights. Yordenis Ugas, when he beat Manny Pacquiao on pay-per-view. He beat Manny Pacquiao in front of a huge crowd of Manny Pacquiao fans, and he did it in a very solid fashion, a very even-minded fashion, right? And executed his game plan to the T and got the win. When fighters win, my understanding is when fighters win on big stages and they win big matches like that, typically speaking, they get a lot of confidence in that. And as long as they don't do, say, like, something like Andy Ruiz did, which is, win the big Anthony Joshua fight and then start eating a bunch and celebrating a lot and losing their focus because they've made it. If they're able to take it in stride and continue to train hard and be focused, that's going to make them even a more difficult fighter now because they have that experience. So, and plus, Yordenis Ugas is the thing that I think would make Yordenis Ugas difficult for Errol Spence Jr. or one of the things that Yordenis Ugas has that maybe other people don't have that have faced Errol Spence is that he is a Cuban fighter, and the majority of Cuban fighters in their amateur system fight as southpaws. So when you and Yordenis Ugas is coming off of a fight with the southpaw in Manny Pacquiao. So where Errol Spence Jr. a lot of times goes into fights and he has a southpaw advantage, where guys aren't as used to fighting southpaws, that's not going to be the case with Yordenis Ugas. Yordenis Ugas is somebody that was raised in a system where he's fighting southpaws on a regular basis and should know how to neutralize them, knows what they like to do, right? And is coming off of a fight against one of the best southpaws ever in Manny Pacquiao. So, I understand where Shawn Porter's coming from, but I would still, myself personally, I still give Errol Spence Jr. the advantage in that fight, and that is because I think both of those guys really do like to go to the body. I think Errol Spence Jr. has faster hands, has faster feet, and his punches are a lot tighter. And also, he's very big and he's strong. He's big and he's strong. And Errol Spence Jr. himself really looks like he's been grinding in the gym. Like, if you were familiar with Errol Spence Jr., like, say, between like the time that he fought Lamont Peterson and the time, or Carlos Ocampo, and the time he fought Mikey Garcia, I went to a fight. I think it was a Charlo fight in Houston, and I saw Errol Spence Jr. in person, and I'm telling you, man, he really did look like he had a very full face. He looked very fluffy, right? And like he had gained a lot of weight in between fights. If you look at Errol Spence Jr. now, for pretty much ever since the Danny Garcia fight, any interview that he's given, he is close to making weight, and he looks like he doesn't have all that. He doesn't have the full cheeks. He doesn't have all that body weight on him like he usually does. So when he goes into this match with Yordenis Ugas, he should be being fully on board, fully training, fully, into it, man. Where before, I think that there was stuff going on with him in between the fight that had made him blow up in weight and really kind of messed with his ability to have a really good functional training camp. But Shawn Porter said, hey, look, man, don't get cocky. Make sure, because you should beat him, but there's definitely a chance that Yordenis Ugas can pull this fight out. And I do believe that's the case, which is why, again, I don't get why everybody wants it. Not everybody. A whole lot of people are just dumping on this fight for no good reason, especially because they didn't dump on the Shawn Porter fight, right? They just kind of put everything on Errol Spence Jr., and I just think that that's just a way just to dog the PBC, with the exception of some people that are truly Terrence Crawford fans and believe that way. For the most part, I just think it's another hit job on the PBC. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.